Ann.
I have you on the phone. Can everybody hear Chair Doherty?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great.
We're going to
Okay.
proceed. We're going to proceed like this for now because we don't have a quorum without you.
Yeah, and for some reason, the new Teams or whatever is not working on my computer at all. So I'll keep trying. But anyway, with that, I call the meeting to order. And Karen, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes. For the record, my name is Karen Parkman, and I'm the Director of Administration for the agency. Today I'm conducting roll call. Please stay here for the record when you hear your name being called. Chair Doherty,
Here.
Vice Chair Barry, Commissioner Fowler,
Present.
Commissioner and Dr. Stein.
Here.
So for now,
Okay, so there is a quorum available. Okay, with that, we need an approval of the agenda. So if I need a motion, please.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved to second. We approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. I say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we also need an approval of the minutes for the last two meetings. So we need approval for the minutes of March 25th.
I'll move for that approval.
Second.
Okay, great. And all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, we also need a motion for, and motion passes, a motion to accept the minutes of 4/27.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it also.
Okay, great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, those are approved. Thank you very much. Okay, the next thing we have is old business, director's report, Director Nguyen.
Yes, let me share my screen here. Okay, hopefully you can all see my screen. Good afternoon, and for the record, my name is Connie Nguyen. Good afternoon, Chair Doherty, Vice Chair Barry, who will be on soon, I'm sure, and commissioners. I am operating with one hand, just so you know. I had, for those of you that don't know, I went in for a minor surgery to get an impingement fixed in my shoulder, and they ended up doing a total rotator cuff and reattaching a bicep and all kinds of other things. So I'm going to be one arm for some time. The good news is I took Monday and Tuesday off, knowing I was going to need some time off, which was really great because I spent all afternoon Monday and all day Tuesday on the phone with either the governor's office, a legislator, the budget committee, or reporters. So thank God I had that schedule blocked off because there is a lot going on in the state. And I'm not going to go into detail on everything that's going on. You can tell by the agenda that we have a lot going on. I'm just going to give you the high level. First, you probably remember me talking the last few meetings about a new database we're getting that we're really excited about. But you can see here, it says, not so fast. We've been working on getting this database up and running with the intent of having it released well before June. You may notice that it's almost June now. And we established a drop dead date at which we have passed, meaning that we no longer think it is feasible to implement the new database before the start of the racing season. We'll be delaying the start until the fall. You may ask, what does that mean to me? Well, we continue with the 3-year license. As opposed to switching to a 2. We won't switch to a 2-year license until the new database is started because our current database doesn't have that ability. We will change over to the 2-year format in the fall. We will also not change our fees because our new database has that ability. Our current database does not. This also gives us additional time to consider some of the feedback that we got during our advisory committee meeting. We're still working on some recommendations. For example, we were challenged by, I don't think Will's here, but he was on the last one, by one of our ADW members to really look and see if we actually really need to license everybody that we're licensing. And in fact, we've decided that some of the positions that we have traditionally licensed may not really require a license going forward. So we are in the process of going through that. And those rules will be updated, and we will have those available for the August meeting.
Okay, is that it or?
I'm still working. I'm slow. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Again, I have one hand, Chair. Okay, House Bill 5035 is our budget bill. We had a hearing in Ways and Means, and because of the unknown factors with the federal government grant money, international trading, they put on hold until after the May forecast, which came out yesterday. I understand the May forecast was not great. I will be going in on Monday morning to find out what exactly that means. We are a fee only, so it should not impact the money that we make in any way, but it may mean that there may not be additional money for the Racing Commission, which we were hoping to get. Senate Bill 853 also was a bill that we're waiting on, which allows us to increase fees for licenses because it's Ways and Means. I don't know exactly why that was important, but it also was not, they were waiting until after the budget release. So hopefully we'll be hearing about the status on that soon. Again, I apologize that I'm slow. Other legislation that we have going on, Senate Bill 854, 855, and 856, 854 and 855, both are related to fees. 856 is the ability for our auditor to place restricted wagers in his auditing activities. Those are sitting on the governor's desk to sign. They're ready to go. Senate Bill 857 has a committee meeting on Tuesday. That is whether we have the tip line be anonymous or not anonymous. At this point, I really don't have a preference. We just want them to decide, the legislators to decide what they approve. H Bill 3101, Randy Bodine or another member of those groups may discuss that, but as I understand it, that is also waiting for Ways and Means. HB 3020, which ends Greyhound racing, has been signed into law. And that's an update on our bills. Personal issues, a few things here. I am glad to report that thanks to lots of people's help, including Dr. Lombard and, well, pretty much everybody, we have patched together a full roster of veterinarians for every one of our meets.
Yay.
And that has been quite a task. And we have some of the best veterinarians coming. We have the state epidemiologist, the state veterinarian from Idaho, all kinds of fun and interesting people that we're hoping to learn many more best practices from. I also want to give a big shout out to our chief investigator, Chris Moisino. He has been fielding a lot of questions and helping out with some processes because we have so many changes in the veterinarian area from staffing. And as someone who's been helping with the samplings and those processes before, he's just really been great to step in and assist the team. Also, I'd like to say that I'm expecting Malia might have some pictures for us in the near future of a new family member that is expected to be here in the next couple weeks. Malia will be out for a bit. I think you can imagine why. So congratulations, Malia.
Congratulations.
And then
Thank you.
we talked about having the track testing laboratory from Kentucky out. Well, they did come out. They came out. We had put aside $200,000 to pay for their expenses, and for the track, because we assumed that there would be a lot of things that would need to be fixed at the track, and we wanted to make sure that if we had them come out, we had the money to fix whatever they found. The good news is, if you look at this graph, that red line that's kind of in the middle of everything, that's pretty much Grants Pass. Those are other tracks that are similar to Grants Pass. They are HISA tracks, and we stand pretty well next to the best. So our track is not in bad shape. They did make some good recommendations. In addition to the recommendations, they recommended that we get a moisture meter, which we've already been talking about. So we went on and made that purchase, and thank you, Mr. Rodlow, for getting that together for us. I'm echoing now. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay. I think we got to mute that.
Okay, is there more?
One more thing. The last item, and I apologize, I'm echoing, but this is just not done. Oh, two more things, actually. First, the ADW handle. During the last ADW committee meeting, it was requested by one of our licensees to report handle in aggregate instead of by individual licensees. This licensee believed this is confidential information. For some reason, I thought we had talked about this in the full commission meeting, but in fact, we did not. That whole day was kind of a blur. It was quite a busy day. I did speak with DOJ, and they thought it was a fair request of the licensee. We did release those numbers in aggregate for last quarter. Since then, I have gotten a plethora of questions about the changes, so have consulted with the governor's office to look for possible other reporting metrics. All in all, we decided to go back to the original reporting and have notified the requesting ADW, who graciously understands and will not contest the return to our previous reporting structure.
Okay, thank you so much for following up with that, because there have been some issues out there. So is there,
Last thing,
yeah, is there a certain time that will be posted, or are we just waiting for that?
we already posted it. Thank you, Micah Lloyd, for doing that.
Thank you, Micah.
And then finally, this will be reported on later, but Commissioner Fowler and I attended the Association of Racing Commissioners International, and she will be giving a full report on that. You can tell she was very serious there in this picture, and we will go from there. That's the end of my report.
Very cool. Are there any commissioners? Are there any questions of the director? Hey,
If anyone can hear me, this is Commissioner Barry. I'd just like to say that I'm present on the line now.
oh, great. We're so glad that you were honest. Well, it took me 10 minutes just to get in there. I think I'm gonna, go out of retirement and become a tech person. So anyway,
Oh God, come work very
No.
cheaply for me, please.
I'm being tremendously sarcastic. Okay, great report. We're glad it is a busy time of the year, and I know that it's going to get busier when the legislature starts to wind down, and when Ways and Means really starts get going. And you can always tell that they're going because they're now meeting on Fridays, which doesn't happen until things really start to go. So anyway, thank you very much, and thank you for following up on the ADFW posting of fees and so on. Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda is the budget report, and Commissioner Fowler, please pop in anytime, because we had the meeting this morning and your input was invaluable. But we met with the committee, and I think you all received information with suggestions and kind of the facts as to what money we had left and what money might be distributed before the end of the biennium versus the next biennium. And we went through and looked over it, and we had some of the folks that are involved with this. And it kind of came down to the suggestion, and it's something that we'll discuss as a commission, is that things that could come out of what is left over in our current biennium. things like the rock picker for the Crooked River, things like purses, that kind of thing are what we would like to see come out of the current funds. Some of the things that don't necessarily deal with equine safety or jockey safety or with the purses, things like might be put off until the next biennium, which is 25-27. And that was some of the recommendations or some of the uh, things brought up by Tillamook. But we're going to be hearing from these people later on in the meeting. And so what we'll do is if you have questions and so on, we'll do that. But those were kind of the suggestions that we had, is that if we left out some of the things from that were, for example, like portable stalls and maybe a hot walker, that kind of thing, that we could do that next biennium, and it would put us in under right at what the kind of money that we have left over. And so that was kind of what we discussed. Commissioner Fowler, what other things could you please add?
I think that that's a good summary. We talked about sort of infrastructure things. If they weren't involved with safety, weren't at the top of our priority.
Okay.
And sort of looking at the cost benefit analysis and how often these things are going to be used, things that weren't just safety or purse related. But I think you summarized it, and as you stated, we're going to hear from everybody who put in the applications. But it seemed that, well, I think that's all I have to add at this point.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, it sounds good. Thank you very much. And as I say, this is in the latter part of the agenda that we'll talk about this today. Do you have any questions for us before we do that at the end? I think questions could be answered when we talk about this at the end of the agenda. Okay. The next thing we have is discussion on frequency of races. Director Nguyen.
Yes, for the record, Connie Nguyen, Executive Director, Chair, Commissioners. This came up because I think there was some confusion, and when I read the minutes, it looked different than what I think some people remembered, and I just wanted to go on the record. At the end of the last meeting that we had, or maybe it was even the meeting before, I think it was the last meeting, we had decided that instead of saying 2 full days between running, that we wouldn't do any official policies or rules, but we would just have an unofficial policy that they would have at least 1 rest day between. I think where there's some confusion, and I want to make absolutely sure what the intent of the commission was, is do we say no more than 2 races in 10 days? That was a question on the 10 days that was kind of left out, is do we say no more than, what was the outcome of the 10 days? And I want to get a motion on that so it's on the record. And if we do that just as again, a guideline for this year.
Okay, so do you need a motion now, or?
I think we need to discuss and make sure that we're all on the same page, and then we need a motion, one way or the other.
Okay.
Dr.
Well,
Stein.
Yeah,
Yes.
I understood we were talking 3 starts in 10 days.
Okay. So no more than 3 starts? Or-
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
and that seems fine.
Okay, and that's what we're looking at is that, so is that, would you like to make the motion that there'd be no more than 3 starts in 10 days? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, unless you want to take public comment, that's fine. Yes.
Okay, so could we have a motion on that issue? Oh, wait, before we have the motion, Leah, do you have a question?
You'll have to open up to public comment for everyone if you take hers. So go ahead.
Oh, okay, I'd like to put it, go ahead, Leah.
Well, no, I don't understand that either.
Yeah.
I think we have a problem with the 2 races in 10 days?
Yeah,
Dave's
no,
gonna
no.
speak to this.
No, we're talking no more than 3. The motion is to have no more than 3
Okay.
races in 10 days.
all right, that sounds a little different, Madam Chair, than what was stated. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
our only concern was that on those years when, like, with the calendar for the conclusion of Grants Pass is simply a few days before the beginning of Prineville, then you've got this congestion of conclusion of one fraternity and the trials or the entry days for the next fraternity.
Okay.
It happens once out of every 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Lindsay,
This year is one of those years.
okay. It's something that we're going to be sticking with. We're going to have the motion to vote on in the 3 days, the 3 times in 10 days. But Commissioner Fowler had her hand up.
I think that the confusion was we had initially talked about it being 2 days
Yes.
in the 10-day period, and our conversation concluded with 3 days in the 10-day period. That's how I recall it.
Days or races?
3
days
races
or
with-
races?
3 races within the 10-day period.
And none of which could be back to back.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
And I
but
see
if
agreement.
somebody runs on the 4th and 5th of July and our fraternity or
No.
well, then
They
I'm
can't run in
misunderstanding.
They can't run 2 days in a row.
Oh,
Say that.
okay. Well, then why doesn't it just say that?
That's what the motion is going to be. There's going to be some flexibility. Mr. Lowe, did you have your hand up? Oh, you're on mute, sir.
Leah, it's right the way it is. No more than 3 races in 10 days. So there is no overlapping from Grants Pass to Prineville. And they're correct. You just can't run 2 days in a row.
Okay,
That's-
thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion. Could I entertain a motion to that effect? From our
I'll make that
commission?
motion.
I'll
Okay,
second.
okay, so there's a motion and a second. That's no more than three races in a 10-day period. Any discussion with the commissioners? Okay, all those in favor, either raise your hand or say aye.
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 So the motion passes. And so that is part of the frequency of races, no more than 3 races in 10 days, a 10-day period. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we have, that's all we have for old business. Under new business, we have legislative budget process. Director Nguyen?
Yeah, and I already covered that. I
Yeah.
double dipped, sorry.
That's okay. Well, we did that. That's okay. We move on even more. And as I say, one thing that I guess I would have the request is if there are any major changes in, through the Ways and Means process or whatever, trust me, the Oregon Racing Commission is not at the top of the priority list when it comes to funding and that kind of thing. But if there are any changes, if you would just let us know, we'd appreciate it. Okay, the next thing we have is a report from the Horse Racing Association. Mr. Lowe? Did you know you were on the agenda?
No, but I'll be glad to report. Connie mentioned something about the testing and that's the main thing I was going to go over. We did do the testing at the track. We're very pleased with how our track came out.
Okay.
And that we had no issues. And so I appreciate all that the commission has done to verify that and that we were able to go ahead and we went ahead and we graded it, we surveyed it, and we put 1,000 ton of sand on it before all that testing was done. And so everything was inspected well, and we passed with flying colors. So, and we have ordered the moisture meter. I'm still trying to figure out how to use it, but we have ordered it, and we'll start doing that testing on our own. We will be grading the track more often. I've talked to Steve Wood about coming just before our race meet starts this summer, and then we'll do it again in the fall. And so we'll be grading it more often than what we have been with his availability.
Okay.
And outside of that, I have put in our HRA application, which I believe is part of this agenda. And so if there's any question on that, please just let me know.
Okay, fine. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Good report. Good work that you guys are doing. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the ARCI report. Commissioner Fowler. I love
Thank
the
you
picture
for-
of you in front of the, Kentucky Derby.
It was so much fun. Churchill Downs is really an incredible place. For the record, my name's Lindsay Fowler. I'm a commissioner, and I guess I want to start by saying I was very appreciative for the state sending me to this conference. I think that it's always good in any area or industry to get leaders together from all over different places to meet people that are doing the same job as we are, from different states and from Canada, from Mexico. It was very educational. A lot of topics were covered. Some rulemaking was done within the ARCI. There was an election where our own Connie Wynn was elected to have a position. I guess it would be on their board, if that's right, Connie.
Okay.
Presentations from different investigators, roundtables for quarter horses, standardbreds, and thoroughbreds. Discussions about accreditation, some attorneys presented on HISA rules and how those are being enforced, and sort of the process, the due process that you have through that, which is not currently applicable to us, but was very interesting nonetheless. People spoke about marketing. There was a company that is marketing, if I can describe it correctly, they've got a social media site where if a horse was injured, they have like an explanation, or if the horse was given surgery and recovered, they kind of are targeting some of the negative parts of the industry and addressing them with more education, which I found to be really an interesting angled to market. There were also presentations on different surfaces, new developments in equine care. A lot. Those horses that are racing in Kentucky see a vet, I think, more often than probably any budget could ever afford. But it was really interesting to hear the latest developments in equine care. And then finally, a nice presentation of nonprofits that are focused on aftercare for retired racehorses, as well as retired brood mares, which I thought was very nice. So overall, it was a really good experience. I'm grateful to have gone. And I'm happy to entertain any questions, but that's about as general as I can do of an overview.
Okay, great. Sounds like a great conference. Do the commissioners have any questions of Commissioner Fowler? Okay, thank you very much for representing us there and bringing all the information back to us. Very much. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the review and possible approval to renew totalizers licenses. Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you, Chair Doherty. Hello, Commissioners. I am Michael Lloyd, Director of Mutuals for the Racing Commission. The tote licenses renewals are required every year, and we have 5 licensees. And before I get going, I want to give thanks to Don Rome, our supervisor of pari-mutuels, for handling the renewal process and the reviews, especially with the escalated timeline to have this discussion for this meeting. I'm going to go through each individually as companies' licenses renewals require the commission's approval. If there is a representative on the call from the tote company, please raise your hand if you wish to give comment when I get to your company. The first one, I'm going to go alphabetically, is AmTote. Their Oregon business license is up to date. The background checks have been completed for both the company and the staff. We received and reviewed their SOC 2 audit reports. And the only thing is that we are pending the payment for the next year. The staff's recommendation is that the commissions give a temporary approval pending the payment. That is all I have for AmTote. I do not see any raised hands. I do have one raised hand.
May I recommend instead of a temporary, a provisional approval?
Provisional.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have a question. Do we want to vote on these each separately or as a group?
Considering the action I have for each company is going to be different, the recommendations I have, I
Okay.
think we need to do each one individually, please.
Okay, so your recommendation is to
A provisional approval pending payment.
Okay, so we need a motion to have a provisional approval of the AmTote license.
I'll
I'll
move.
make that motion
Okay,
or second it.
okay, thank you. Okay, so Commissioner Stein makes a motion, Commissioner Fowler seconds. Any discussion, commissioners? Not, all those in favor say aye or raise your
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Okay, next one.
Thank you. The next tote is Colossus Bets. They also have a up-to-date Oregon business license. Their background checks have been completed for both the company and the staff. Their SOC 2 audit reports have been received and reviewed. And similarly, we are awaiting payment for the next fiscal year. My recommendation is, again, provisional approval pending their payment.
Okay,
I
Is there
do
a
not see anyone on the line representing Colossus Bets, so I return to
yes,
you.
and commissioners, any questions on this one? Okay, see none. Again, if we could have a motion on it for provisional license.
I'll move for the provisional license.
Okay, for a
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler makes the motion and Commissioner Quinn.
Stein.
Stein, thank you. Seconds. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, Global Tote. Their Oregon business license is up to date. Their background checks are pending completion. Their SOC 2 audit report is pending review, and we are pending their payment. The recommendation is a provisional approval pending the renewal review, confirmation, and payment.
Okay. Any questions of Micah?
What?
Oh, go ahead.
No, my question is, why are they late to
Okay.
all of this?
Yes,
Well,
Good question.
thank you, Dr. Commissioner Stein. We jumped the gun on getting these reviews in front of the commission. Normally, this kind of discussion would be held in June instead of May. We've had no issues in the past, and we've reached out to every tote company to try to escalate this so that we do not have to have the June meeting. We don't anticipate any issues, but that is why the escalated timeline brings us to where we are today.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, so do we have a motion to have a provisional license?
I'll move for a provisional license.
Thank you. So Dr. Stein
I'll
moves.
second.
Thank you.
And
They,
Well,
oh, sorry. Oh,
Go ahead. It's a second. Any discussion?
I was going to say, and they do have until end of June technically to get all the stuff to us for review.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, just say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Mike, I do have one question, and maybe just I missed it. Did we talk about UTC? It was
Unite-
on the agenda.
UTC.
United Tote, you missed that.
United. Oh, it's not. Okay, I'm not going. I'm sorry. I'm going in alphabetical order instead of the order in
Okay,
the
never mind. Never
agenda.
mind.
My
We'll get there.
apologies.
Okay, so the next one, Mr. Lloyd.
Is INETA, yeah, which is the last one on the list. Sorry. Their Oregon business license is up to date. The background checks of the company have been completed. The staff background checks are underway. Their SOC 2 audit report has been received and reviewed. Their payment has been received. The recommendation is that we a provisional approval pending the staff background checks and confirmation.
Okay, so do you have a motion to have a provisional pending the staff background checks?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Okay,
second.
Commissioner Fowler made the motion and Commissioner Stein seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
or say aye. Okay, motion passes.
And finally, last but not least, is the United Tote.
Okay.
Their Oregon business license is up to date. The background checks have been completed for both the company and the staff. Their SOC 2 audit report has been received and reviewed, and their payment has been received. The recommendation is that we give full approval of United Tote's license renewal.
Okay, so that's a little different. So we, instead of a provisional, it is a like granting a license. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll move
I'll
that.
move to, I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Stein moves that we accept not a provisional, but a license, and Commissioner Fowler seconds. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. So it looks like all of the totalizers have been approved, the licenses.
Correct.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the annual review of online wagering license. Again, and there was a whole list of them. So again, Mr. Lloyd?
Thank you, Chair Doherty. I believe my list alphabetically matches the list of the order on the agenda, so this will work out well. There are no license renewals this year, so this is merely an update to the commission. We currently have 7 licensees. And as previously stated for the totes, if there is a representative on the call, please raise your hand when I get to your company if you wish to comment about your what I'm saying about your company. Fairly quick run through here. First up is AmWest. Their ORC license is good through next June. Their Oregon business license is up to date. Their assessments payments are current. Their last audit was October of last year. There are no issues with AmWest, and no hands raised. I will move
There
on.
is a representative on if he wants to say anything.
Okay, there is. Would the representative like to say anything about company or the information?
No, thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Everything's great here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Will. I'll move on. The next company is Churchill Downs Technology Initiatives Company. Their ORC license is good through next June. Their Oregon business license is up to date. Their assessment payments are current, and their last audit was in January of this year. There are no issues with Churchill Downs. There is a representative here. Mr. Silver, anything you wish to say?
Thank you all very much. So happy to be doing business in Oregon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is eBet Technologies. Their ORC license is good through next June. Oregon business license is up to date. Their assessments are current. and their last audit was March of this year. I don't see a representative from eBet, so I will move on. Gameplay Network, their ORC license is good through June of 2028. Their Oregon business license is up to date. Their assessments payments are current. Their last audit was in March of 2024. Their next audit is next week.
Yeah.
I do see a representative from Gameplay Network. Mr. Fine, is there anything you wish to say?
No, we appreciate being an Oregon ORC ADW and look forward to a good year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, Naira Bets. Their ORC license is good through next June. Their Oregon business license is up to date. Their assessment payments are current. And their last audit was in October of last year. I do not believe I see a representative from Naira on the list. Correct. I will move on. Next up is ODS Technologies. Many of you know as FanDuel or TVG. Their ORC license is good through next June. Their Oregon business license is up to date. Their assessment payments are current, and their audit is currently ongoing. And I don't see a representative from them as well. And finally, I will bring up ExpressBet. Their ORC license is good through next June. You'll notice that 6 out of the 7 licensees are up for renewal next year.
Mm-hmm.
Their Oregon business license is up to date. Their assessments are current, and their last audit was in August of last year. They're on my agenda after I handle Gameplay Network's audit. And I don't see a representative from ExpressBet. So that is my summary of ADWs. I have no issues to report.
Okay.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Here's any questions? Okay. Seeing none, Micah, thank you very much for the report and the update on that. We appreciate it. Okay, the next thing is the review and possible approval of the 2025 HRA race meets. Director Nguyen.
And my name is Connie Nguyen, the Executive Director of the Racing Commission for the record. First, I want to start out by thanking President Rod Lowe for his excellent submission. This is by far the cleanest, well, frankly, I think it's the cleanest I've seen in years, even well before TMB submission of a proposal. The only thing I found was one document that wasn't updated on the license, and I went online and found it, and it's perfectly fine. So it's a great submission. It does need, because of the time of year that we're approving it, they don't start their race meet until September. They will not be renewing their jockey insurance until prior to that September date. So this would be a provisional recommendation to approve the license for 8 days of racing. 8 days, is that right? That's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many days of racing is it? Is it 8?
12 days.
12 days. 12 days of racing for HRA commercial racetrack in the fall of 2025, conditional upon renewal of the insurance.
Okay, jockey insurance. Okay, so is there a motion to have a provisional approval of the 2025 HRA race meets?
I'll move such.
I'll second.
Commissioner Stein moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and Commissioner Fowler seconds. Any questions of Mr. Lowe or of Connie? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, either raise your hand or say aye, or both.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so it passes. Thank you very much. Okay, the next thing on the agenda, big agenda today, by the way, but it's our last meeting, at least for a couple of months, so it's important. Is a discussion and possible approval of Hub Funds Safety Grants 25-27, which is the next biennium. Director Nguyen?
Yes, let me go ahead and start on that. We had 2 submissions for this grant money, and this is grant money for the next fiscal year, which is all the way like 6 weeks from now, July 1st. And those were for $24,246.50 for a rock picker, and for $13,188 for sand and grading management. I would like to give the opportunity to the 2 people who have submitted those to discuss those. I also understand that there is a need for at least the rock picker for that money to be distributed earlier, which we talked about in the budget meeting. We may be able to redistribute those funds so some come out of this year instead of next year. So with that said, may I please ask that Doug Smith explain to us what his request is for? You're
Okay,
on mute.
You're on mute. You should be off, yeah. Oh. It indicates you're off, but we cannot hear you, sir. Now it's back on. Yeah. Do you need to turn volume up on your computer at all?
I think we'll just have to give a overview of that. What I was most impressed on his is that their association is willing to pay 50% of this. I don't know if any of you have, well, I know many of you on the commission side have not been out to that track. Commissioner Barry, I think, is the only commissioner that has been. It's a great track. They do a great job, but the problem they have is it's very, very rocky. And the current process is to get volunteers to walk around and pick up rocks, which is not great, and it doesn't get all the rocks up, and you have the possibility of the horses getting bruised and injured from that. So I thought it was a very good request. It's not my decision, it's you guys' decision, but that is a request where for him to get on time, he would need those monies distributed right away for it to have an immediate impact.
Okay, go ahead, and then we've got Commissioner Stein.
Commissioner Stein.
Oh, you want? Well, I was going to ask, and since he's on mute, it's really hard to get an answer. Have they contacted?
It's on his phone. Yeah.
Have they contacted for instance, the Northern California fairs that are no longer going to be racing, and they have a whole lot of equipment they're going to want to unload? So I'm just wondering if they have been contacted to see if they have a rock picker.
Mr. Smith?
He's not done that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would be willing to do that if he could get a better value.
Could I add something?
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you. I also wanted to point out that they're requesting money for the magnet, and I think it makes sense to, if we can, give them the money for that sooner rather than later as well. I can't remember when the races are at Tillamook, but it would make sense that they had that before their races this year.
Right. Let's just go through one request at a time, though.
Oh,
Yeah, this is
okay,
Crooked
sorry.
River. Yes.
Gotcha.
Mr. Lowe, you had your hand up.
Yeah, Commissioner Stein, I have used the rock picker that California has, and it's not any good. So I would not recommend buying the rock picker from California. They don't use it down there. It's an old relic, and it picks up the rocks like 1.5 inches and bigger. So it doesn't do as good a job as what Doug is asking for with the rock picker he's looking at.
Okay.
And Chair,
I
since
have,
we,
I have
Oh, wait,
Doug on the
just-
phone.
just-
If you want to
just a-
speak through my phone.
Oh, okay. Okay, Dr. Lombard, you've got Mr. Smith on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay, let me know if you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
This is Doug Smith with the Crooked River Roundup. We researched quite a bit for the last 2 years on a rock picker, and we have aggressively looked for funding for a rock picker. Our issue is that we have stones that are an inch to an inch and a half, and we pick them off the surface, and then we work the track, and 2 days later, we have stones back on the surface. So the rock picker that we're getting is capable of clearing probably the top 6 inches of the soil every time it goes through. And that eliminates the stones that not only are on the surface, but are slightly below the surface in the area that we're working. And we believe that that's one of the most important things we can do to provide sound footing for a horse, so that you eliminate that instability that's created by a foot hooking a stone on the outside or the inside of the hoof and putting undue pressure on other parts of those joints. So that's what we work towards. I have been working very hard trying to get this prior to our race meet in July. And at this time, it has been painted. So it has been built and painted without us spending a nickel. If I get a go ahead, it will ship to us next week.
Okay. Okay, great. Any commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Wynn or Director Wynn, it looks like, at least with talking about the timelines and so on, is that this, if that we have a motion, the motion would be to take funds that we have under this current biennium of 2020, 23, 25.
right, and I recommend, since we
Yes.
opened up for public for Rod, that we open up for any other public comments.
Okay, any other public comment on this? Okay, I don't.
Dr. Lombard, your hand is up, and Randy
Oh,
Bodine's
that
hand
was
is up.
just, I
She's,
apologize. That was just to tell you I had Doug on the phone.
she's holding the phone. So I don't see any other hands up. Oh, wait, Vaughn, the person, the Tillamook person, and then Randy.
This would be Cammie Von Sager and Tillamook County Fair. I just wanted to also mention in favor of Doug. He did reach out to see if I was going to be in need of a rock picker as well. And figuring out transportation or something in that sort, because I actually pay someone from the valley to come out and do rock picking for me. So that's another potential partnership by him doing this.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Mr. Bowden?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Randy Bodine, Executive Director of the Oregon HPPA. Just from our standpoint, from the horseman standpoint, we strongly request that you grant this. He really can use it down there. And from a personal standpoint, I really would not miss walking around that track picking up rocks every year. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I did appreciate the offer of, loaning it to other places and paying for half of it. So anyway, and then back to the question. So these are funds that we could use that are currently, we currently have, correct? You're on mute, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We can work with these funds to figure out what we can fund next year, so we can make sure that he can get those funds this year, because it does sound like a matter of priority.
Okay. Okay, so any other
Commissioner
questions?
Barry with the chair.
Or,
sorry.
Cammie, somebody else have a question or a comment? I don't see any hands. Okay, if not, I would like to entertain a motion that we fund the safety grant that CRR has proposed for the rock picker out of
I'll make that motion.
funds. Okay,
I'll second.
okay, so Commissioner Fowler made the motion and Commissioner Stein seconded. Any discussion from the commissioners? Okay, seeing none, we take a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Looks like we might have a rock picker fairly soon. As I say, I appreciate everyone.
Very exciting.
Okay. Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda, and this is again with discussion, is remaining hub fund grants for 23-25, which is the current biennium. And there were a couple of subs under that, yeah, intro by, and this is where we're gonna have the discussion of the groups that have requested funds that we use under this biennium. So, Director Nguyen?
Yes, my apologies. There was one other safety grant request, and that was from Tillamook Cami.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So perhaps you can present on that one.
Okay, so this will be a separate motion, but yes, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Director. Thank you so much. So this was, again, for the initial grant request was for $1,000 for the industrial magnet sweepers to help collect any debris that it can collect. We do host a demolition derby on Saturday night of fair, and it's a continual problem to pick up items as they work up from weather and tilling and whatnot. Also, it's just an old building ground, and when the grandstands were decommissioned and torn down and built, we're still finding all kinds of nails and debris. So this is just another safety precaution to try and collect as much as we can, even though we do the same thing and walk around there and pick everything up. So that's a request there. The other is for the maintenance of the track. We did used to have Steve Woods that would come out and inspect our track, and he kind of got us on this path of improvement, whether it was the grading, the adding of the materials to get the proper footing. So this is a proposal that my racing fair board member has come up with based on what we've done in the past. And this would I believe it would be the year number 4. So it's been that long since we've had sand added to our track, and we felt that it was time.
Okay, and the request for that was how much?
$12,188. And I did indicate some of the grading time and the grading hours are donated. The equipment is donated from local contractors. We have the grooming itself, and because those layers have to be laid down evenly and sand distributed properly. And then so it's a lot of time consuming. So some of that we were being charged for, and then the rest of it is being donated.
Okay. Commissioner Nguyen, any comment, or Director Nguyen, any comments on this? Because the one question I would have is if we granted,
Yeah, so
we already did the one, if you granted this one, how much money would be left over? For
sure.
this?
So what I'm seeing, depending on everything else we do, but what I'm seeing is the magnet sounds like something you probably need right away, or can you wait till next fiscal year to buy that?
If I know that there are funds coming, I already have this money in my budget for this budget year for myself, which is end of June. I get new money and new expenditures starting in July 1. So I have the money to foot the whole thing and be reimbursed, or it could be granted and paid at the time. So
Okay.
I can carry mine over to either period.
Okay, so it's either now or we reimburse in the next biennium.
Absolutely.
Okay. Commissioner Stein, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was only going to ask Cami if are you using a sand spreader, and do you have to rent that or whatever to lay down all that sand?
We are not using a sand spreader. The last time that we did this with Steve Woods here on site, the truck that we use, the hauler that we use, lays down an even layer and distributes that, similar to what you would see them doing with rock for driveways. But the sand is always a little bit different. So we use a contractor who understands what the thickness of the layer that we want, and then they'll just continue to do that in a pattern, one layer at a time.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, any other questions? Director, when I'm going back to the original question, if this second hub or the second grant is granted, how much would be left for this biennium right now, to deal with
Well-
some of the other issues that people have brought up?
So what we have altogether from that safety money left over would be 15,565. With that said, we still have a deficit. If we fund everything else from this biennium,
Mhm.
we would still have a deficit of $43,029. I think we can handle the 29, but out of everything else, 43,000 cannot be allocated. So we're going to have to look at the rest of the requests and decide what 43,000 for the current funds we cannot give out. And that's the next agenda item, is looking at the request for all of the current funds. And if you'd like, I can give you a high level on that. That might be a good way for us to start, and then we can go through them one by one. I recommend I just first give you a list of what they all are, and then we let each one of them present on what it is that they're asking for and why they think it's important.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss as commissioners if you agree.
I think that would be a good thing, because I think that, Cammie, the request, in fact, all of these requests are very important. It's just the idea of whether we got money in the bank. And so why don't we hear from other people, and it may be something that we reimburse later or whatever, but let's hear what other people have to say.
Right. Let me
Can
start
I
by just giving
interject?
Who was that?
Me?
Yes. Yes.
May I interject? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Please do.
I thought we were talking about the next biennium funding for Tillamook, not this biennium. So I think that,
yes, that was.
okay.
Okay, so, Cammie, did that thing, it's the idea of the request that you have for the 13,000, whatever would probably be reimbursed in the next biennium, not with the money that we're talking about right now. Is that your understanding?
Well,
July
it was
1st,
my
but for the-
understanding when I initially put this in, we were talking about the money that was left over for this biennium. And so then came out the extra 100,000, which I thought was for the next biennium. So,
Exactly the opposite.
okay.
So
Gotcha.
that 12,188 is for the next biennium. We can pay it. We can ask for it as early as July 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Which you said you could do.
Yes,
All right.
good.
All right. So I'm going to go through high level, and then we'll ask each one of these people to present, and then you guys can ask questions.
Yeah.
So
Do we
we
need
have a
to
request.
vote on the last request for the next biennium first?
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd move to grant Tillamook their money for the sanding and grading, as well as the industrial magnet.
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Commissioners, do we have discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion passes. So Tillamook comes out of this current biennium.
Next biennium.
Next biennium.
Next biennium.
I've got a record. Don't worry. We're good.
Thank you.
All right. So just to reinstate, OHBPA has asked for, this is funds that have to be spent on this season's race meets. It's going to cover 2 fiscal years, which we've had to deal with before because of the way that our season works. But these funds have to be for this race meet. It can't be for the ones starting in 2026. OHBPA has asked for $57,000 for purse. And these are high level. You can explain more detail when you present. Tillamook has asked for additional medical staff, which we have requested that they do. That's so they have medical staff while the jockeys are training. Tillamook has asked for track water mitigation, repairs to a hot walker, portable stalls, and restroom shower upgrades. Union has asked for an extra 9,000 in purses. 1,800 for rail and track improvements, and 6,600 for jockey building, which they said they do not need until next year.
Okay.
Otoba has asked for $9,000 for purses. OQHA has asked for reimbursement of $27,200 for purses, an additional $24,000, which they put in for 2 years, but we could only do 1 year. HRA, right, so 12,000. HRA has asked for, you saw the pictures, if you looked at the packet, 24,000 for jockey building. And that's it. And why don't we just start at the top of this, and I will call, and they can present and you guys can ask questions. So let's start with Randy Bodine.
And as I say, Randy, before you start out, one of the things we had, I think, on the agenda is if you can keep it to 2 minutes. That
I'll
would be
certainly try.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
So for the record, Randy Bodine, Executive Director, Oregon HBPA. Yes, so we asked for $57,000, and importantly, if you grant this, the HBPA will match that with another $57,000. I want you to know that when you gave us the hub funds a little short time back, that money is already dedicated to purses. So this money wouldn't be coming out of that. This will be out of our savings account. So we would add that in, based on the savings. And the idea behind this was we thought about how to do this to the best of all the industry. And it seems the best to try and raise the purses at the racing fairs because of the discrepancy between the fair racing purses and the commercial racing purses is $2,000 or a little more. And so we wanted to, as I detailed in my request, to try and close the gap for that, also to make our fair racing more so more people want to be involved in it, more people show up at the races, to support the fairs, and also that obviously we'll have a better field sizes for each race. So how I did this in terms of the math was there's 114 thoroughbred races between the 4 racing fairs, and taking that in half is 57,000. So I guess I'll entertain questions, but the idea was that this was a chance for the Racing Commission and the OHBPA to kind of partner up and try and forward the vision of the county fairs.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Okay, and then also Karen, this is on the side. I noticed on my computer, somebody said that there were people waiting to get in. I don't know if you saw that notification. So, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Bodine. Next.
Next is Tillamook.
Okay,
A
Tillamook.
request for remaining funds from this calendar year.
Okay, so my apologies. I did put some facilities things in here, but I will just go down the line quickly. So what we were looking at was 5,000, basically roughly just under $6,000 for medical staffing for the fair for the extra 2 or maybe 3 days of training that Dr. Lombard had asked for us to do to get some of those horses kind of taken down off that list. So that would include that as well. That is to say, we are getting our ambulance service covered. This is just something separate to have during those practice times and during race times, to have someone on the infield as well as someone by the starting gate, which we definitely need. The 6,200 is for track water mitigation. So what that is where we have the driveway that goes down right next to our sheriff's booth, right next to the investigator's office, that every water droplet that falls on our parking lot drains down onto the track right where you cross. And we've tried to put barriers there before. We just need to do a culvert, a catch basin in that area. So we need to dig it up, place it down, bore underneath the track, and get that water to the collection ditch on the other side. This is really going to help us to kind of make that area a lot better and safer, because 1, we drive on it, and then 2, now we have water running across it. So, and it's on the straightaway right from the starting gate. So we feel that that's really important. The third item is $2,900. We have 3 hot walkers. One we bought. They're all in a little bit of disrepair, but this one actually stopped working last year. And this would allow us to have all that recreated, the arms all done, welded, the materials, the new motor installed for about half of what we could actually buy one for used. The other 2 items are, we talked about portable stalls, but this is actually the installation of 2 new barns. We are going to start this project. We'll get it done no matter what, but we have one barn that is in horrible disrepair, and we know that we need to do something new and something more. So that's where number 4 comes in at $30,000, and that includes some portables, which is 8, reconstructing them, and then what I call 1.5 barns. The last item was kind of a wish list. We only have 1 restroom and shower, 1 for men, 1 for women. There's only 1 toilet in each one for all of the horsemen and women that come to our grounds. So somebody had found these portable units with a shower and a toilet in them that are on a trailer that we can actually just place at our grounds and get those up and running for fair time. So the minimum for that would be the purchase of those, and then some of the pipe and materials that goes into it. And that would be, the rest would be on us.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions? Any comments?
Well, I've got a lot of questions, but I know we have a lot to get to. Again, I'll go back, Cammie. Have you contacted, again, like the Northern California Fairs? I don't know if they have portables or if they use them for pony horses rather than race horses, if that would help you. Unfortunately, I've not been to Tillamook, but I'll be there this year. I'm kind of curious, and all these things you're describing is a little hard to, get my head around. But I just think that I don't know. I'm sure you've done a lot of work to try to figure out where to get a lot of these materials. But if you could just kind of fill me in on some of that.
On the portables, we have access, I believe, even through Rod Lowe, I believe some of the larger portable systems. The problem is that we have no sewer connection. So if you get a portable unit with multiple units in it, we don't have anywhere to put the waste or the water, the gray water. So by using these smallers, it would only add an additional 3 restrooms and showers. We can either use holding tanks to put those in and have them pumped, or we can run a temporary line for the sewage. So the big portables that you bring in, I just don't have facilities, and they are not allowing any new sewer connections in Tillamook.
Well, I mean, just in terms of the horse stalls is what I'm more concerned about.
My apologies. We have done some looking at those horse stalls. We felt that it would be better to actually build the barn because it's more consistent. We don't have any room currently to put our portables inside. So they stay up all year, and that's how they get deteriorated.
And the walker, is that hot walker used for like the test barn?
I don't know if that walker is for the test barn. John didn't tell me exactly which one it was. We have 2 there and then 1 a little bit farther away. So it could have been any one of the 3 that we have.
Okay. And I was just wondering, because I know a lot of the racetracks in California, there's a company that rents the hot walkers, the horsemen pay for it. Obviously, in this case, we would, I guess, pay for it. Have you checked into what it would cost to rent one, and if there's a company in Oregon that does that, or if you'd have to reach out to a California company?
I believe it would be a California company, but the cost of shipping would be marginal. And then we don't actually have it. So we looked at the repair cost of, say, $3,000, $2,900. And by the time you rented it a couple of times, you would be paying someone to actually rent it and the travel. So you would be paying for hauling, and you wouldn't have anything to show for it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fowler.
Thanks. Just a couple questions, Cami. How many stalls do you have available to you now?
So last year we had 185, I want to say. We were looking at, then we had some portables, so it brought our numbers up to about 200, 210. I believe in the last meeting, Doug Smith did some really good math for me. And we had needed about an additional 30 to 40 stalls to meet the anticipation of the horses that will be here this year with 33 races.
Got you. So an additional 33 stalls from what you currently have available to you?
Correct.
And do you know what the cost of that amount of stalls in portables would be?
I do not. We looked at the stalls. We had several companies, the WW that we were looking at, that particular type of portable stall. We did get one bid and it was about 30,000 to have those shipped out here. And then again, Doug Smith had mentioned that there was a more local company. But we started discussing, what are we going to do with those stalls? We don't have anywhere to put them. And so we started looking at the, oh, go ahead.
How's that different than building 2 barns?
Well, there's nothing to store and you can utilize that for other events that we might have, or if horse racing, if we don't need that many, we would be able to use them for tack rooms and housing for other things on the equine side.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Cami, very much.
No, thank
Okay,
you.
next. You're on mute, ma'am. You're on mute.
I
There
am
we go.
still on mute. I'm one-handed. It's hard when I only have one hand. I can't raise my hand and
We don't want
so
to raise the other. Thank you.
I don't want to raise the other hand. So just a couple questions for Cami that I know that we talked about during the budget meeting that you weren't on. One, Rod had mentioned something about some sand. Rod, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I've actually discussed this with Cami, so she's aware of some concerns. I called Steve Wood and talked to him about the sand, and basically I told Cami that, you know, just a higher granular sand is not good for the racetrack if it's a fine sand than it is, and I gave Cami some options she could send.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the other question I had is, you had mentioned that you had some money for some of these repairs already. What were you already planning on spending? Because we want to make sure this is going to new initiatives. So were all these already budgeted? What was not already budgeted for you guys?
So when I say that I have the money, I take it out of my repairs and maintenance fund, which I use for everything across my entire fairgrounds. So I do things, what we call, I have spending authority to spend more than what I currently have. So none of these were actually, except for probably the hot walker, just because I can't not have a hot walker here for you for our races. Probably would go under repairs and maintenance. So what I have to do is if I actually spend my own money on these items, then I wouldn't be able to say replace the roof on one of my other buildings, or I can't do something else. So we are going to be building the barn. We got a lot of the materials donated. We're going to get as far as we can. And then we'll either have to go out and ask for some more money, or I'll just have to cut a different project that I have across my grounds.
So would you be applicable if the commission so chose to match money on any of these projects?
Absolutely. Yes, 4 and 5 are things that are more infrastructure. I do need them. Well, 4 I need. The barns and the stalls, we definitely need those for this year. And I would be happy to entertain any idea of matching funds.
And as I said, we're going to look at that. Personally, I would like, how do I put this now? I'm not quite sure we want to build barns and build things and have commission money going to structures that are physical structures as opposed to, you know, something that is starting gate or whatever. And that's just my opinion. Okay.
And one of the reasons,
Go ahead, please.
sorry, one of the reasons that most of you don't know about is before my time, and Karen can talk about it, how much did we spend on a barn and then the track folded?
It was roughly 80,000.
Yeah, so we have that before where I think they got 1 year of use of it and then they decided not to race anymore. And that was a lot of money that, you know, again, it would be great if they kept racing, but
I would be
Yeah.
happy to split out the, just the repairs of those portable stalls, because our portables are plywood and post. I'd be happy to split that out so that you would be able to see, I might have already done that. Because I believe it is 16 portables that we are repairing, and I'd be happy to split that money out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we need to move on to the next request of funds?
yes, and I don't know if we have anyone from Union. Is anybody on from Union? One thing I have to say about Union
Yeah.
is they always ask for the least amount of money. So what he was asking for was 9,000 in extra purses because it's hard to get people to go out to Union because it's pretty far out there. And he does everything on his own. I mean, if he's going to say he wants a jockey building fixed, he's going to be out there with a hammer and nails himself repairing it because that's just how Nate is and his team. So they're
And I
asking,
understand, he said this could be something that they could be in the next biennium.
yes, the 6,600 for the jockey building repairs, and I don't know what they look like because he didn't provide us photos, but he said it's bad. Does anybody remember what that facility looks like? I don't. Any of the public
I'm
on here?
there.
Alice does. Dr. Lombard. Can you address what that facility looks like? You're on mute, by the way.
It needs repaired. There are boards coming out. I mean, it's simple repairs, but it all needs done. It's been way overdue, not due to neglect, just time and effort and money.
And money.
Okay.
The other was they wanted to do some work on the rail and track and had $1,800 for that. So again, the money that they're asking for, 6,600 of it could be delayed for next year, for July.
Yeah.
The next one is Otoba, and we have a representative from Otoba to speak.
Chair Doherty and commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Connie Erickson, president of the Oregon Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to apply for these additional funds. Being mindful of the limited funds available and the needs of the other associations, our request is small, but these funds are important to thoroughbred racing in general and Oregon bred owners in particular. Otoba already adds $1,000 to every Oregon bred race offered. Our request, if granted, will allow us to add an additional $1,000 to the Oregon bred races offered at Union and Sora meets. We also support HBPA's request that would add another $1,000 to all thoroughbred races, including Oregon bred races. These combined funds would provide incentive for Oregon bred owners to attend these race meets. Racing is important to our fairs, as is evidenced by Bern's desire to revive racing at their fair. Racing increases fair attendance and enhances community involvement. As an addendum to our request, since it was said in this morning that monies allocated now might be spent in 2025 beyond June, we would ask that any amount not spent on Oregon bred races at the Burns and Grants Pass fair meets due to cancellations, non-filling of races, whatever, be able to be added to Oregon bred races at the fall commercial meet, particularly our stakes races. Again, thank you for this opportunity, and we hope you consider our request.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Okay, pretty straightforward purchase. Okay, the next. We have a next.
Doug Smith has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Doug, do you
Whoever
want
has
to? I think we need him to go through Alice's.
No, I called in on the hotline. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear, sir. Mr. Smith?
Okay, so this is Doug Smith from the Crooked River Roundup. I just wanted to make sure when Connie introduced the second line of request, she failed to mention I have a request for lighting and also a request for purse that I had submitted that were in the packets.
I missed that. I'm so sorry. How much were those? Because that's in addition to what we've seen. Look, was it in the packet and I missed it?
Yeah, it was in the packet right behind my request for the rock picker.
Oh, yeah, I saw this. Somebody had told us about barn lighting was 13,000. Yeah.
Barn lighting
And-
was
and the
13,000 and
purchase-
we would provide 4 of it.
Right.
So the request is 9. And then there was a request for additional purses to allow us to have a $10,000 feature race on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that would be then spread out between the breeds. One of the requests I've got from the horsemen was we don't have a fillies and mares big race for the thoroughbreds. And so that was one of the requests, was maybe we could make a big deal out of that. We've got the Sosa race on Friday night for fillies and mares quarter horses. So we were trying to figure out then if this is approved, work with our racing secretary and find something for Wednesday and Thursday. And the purses, we were going to add part of it. I believe I asked the commission for a total of 6,500. And we would then, once this is approved, I'll also have our sales staff go out and try to sell those feature races and add that back to the purses as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Because I had barn lighting written down and also a purse.
So I missed that. So that's an additional 15,000.
It looks like I just added the 2 from his request. It looks like 7,500 for purse enhancement and lighting 9,750, so a total of 17,250.
17,250. Got it.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is the Quarter Horse Association.
Okay. As I say, I'm looking at time, and so if we can kind of keep it to 3 to 5 minutes, that would be very, very helpful.
As we submitted. Okay, Madam Chair, members of the commission, I'm Dave Nelson. For the record, I'm a member of the board of the Oregon Quarter Horse Racing Association. We had submitted a request for reimbursement of races that we ran at the request of each of the fairs last year. And that was in the amount of $27,200 of additional funding for recapturing that had already been spent on fair purses. And be happy to answer any questions about that. Those arose because of a call from the racing secretary during the entry periods at each of those race meets, saying that he had races that he could not get entries in, and could we provide additional funding or entries if he wrote another quarter horse race. And in the interest of having a full card program for their patrons, we said, yes, absolutely, we would dig into our savings account to provide that additional funding for those races. So we were just simply asking for a reimbursement of those money for those races that had been run and within this biennium, I believe. And then we had asked for an additional 24,000, which would be during our racing season,
For 25.
which would be the 25, 20, they conclude the 25 biennium, 23, 25 biennium, and also in the order of keeping it consistent through the period of the coming biennium, that we would also have $12,000 there to add to the purses for the overnight races. That's for the basically the lower end of the racing. When you breed a horse, you have a natural array of whether they're fast or slow, and the slow horses keep the fans entertained, and the higher purses and the little better horses are also rewarded as well. But this is for trying to keep the
$300 per race.
we'd add, and we thought that a 6% raise on 40 races during the season was a modest request, which amounted to 40 races during the season for the bottom half of the quarter horses for a purse enhancement.
$300 per race.
Be happy to answer any questions.
So that's 12,000 because we can't go into the 26 biennium part.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. 12,000, but now we have the problem of how do we request the other 12,000 to keep consistency among the races, not have to cut them next year.
Well, 12,000 for this year.
Yes.
That's through June 30th, right?
Yes. Just keep.
Okay, and 12.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions of them? Okay, thank you. Do we have others next?
I think Rod's next. At the Jockey
Okay.
Building.
All right, I'm Rod Lowe with HRA LLC. Chair Doherty, commissioners, mine's pretty simple. If you look at my pictures, we have a jockey room that's in disrepair. We've had roof leaking. I have a bid for $10,400 for that. The bid for $10,400 does not include any dry rot repairs, as the bid shows if you want to read it. So I put $7,500 allowance in for that. And the front porch of the building fell down at the same time. So I put $6,500 allowance in for that, which is $24,400. If there's any overruns on the project, HRA will pick up the remainder. If there's any savings, we'll be glad to return those to the ORC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that does it. Yes.
Question for Rod. How many bids did you get on that roof?
I just got one. It was a last minute thing, so I just got one bid, but it is somebody I have used lots in my contracting business, and he has ultimately been the lowest I've ever had for all my bids. So I've used him a lot. He's very reputable.
Okay, thank you. Okay, commissioners, any other questions? Okay, Director Nguyen, do we have any more?
That's
You're-
it.
Yeah.
Wow, my hand looks so
Okay.
small back there. I have some thoughts on this. We're now with those other requests, $60,000 beyond what we have. Oh, wait, Cammy just said something. Hang on. 12 repairable stalls. Total ask is 3,500 for hardware. Okay, so Cammy has that.
So we're 60,000. So we're 60,000 over with the requests.
Yeah,
that are
so
there.
so I did some math, and here's some things to think about. If we give the $12,000, let's just start with purse money. If we give the $12,000 for the quarter horse, that saves us $12,000 from their request. And then we give the $57,000 for OHBPA and the $9,000 for OTOBA. then I think all those funds will be going to the fair meets. So we could get away with not funding the 2 fair meets that requested the purse money, because that money would be going ultimately to the fair meet, or we could take that money out of the other funds. So that's something to think about.
Okay, so in other, the organizations are giving purse money that would filter in through the state, the county fairs.
That's right. That's what I assume. But we would need to hear from them to find out, and maybe that's a question, a follow-up question is how much of the money that we would be giving you would be going to the fair meet compared to the commercial. So we know that. So I think that's a good question to clarify before we say, no, we're not going to give any more to the county fairs if none of that money is going to the county fairs. The second thing I would consider is it sounds like Cammie might have some wiggle room, and we might be able to bring that down, because even if we remove if we just remove those dollars from the purses, we would still have a $22,000 deficit. So you guys would still have to figure out 22,000, and maybe some of that could come out of the infrastructure, because that does not seem like it's the most immediate, and it sounds like Cammie may have some other options. So just something to think about, and then I'll shut up.
Connie,
Okay, Commissioner Stein.
yeah, the 27,000 that we owe to the quarter horse from, we had discussed it even at the last meeting. You're counting that in that they will get that.
Yes, the only thing that this removes is it would not pay for the barns lighting. It would not pay for the purses at Crooked River or at Union. And we would still have to come up with 22,000, which I think we would need to look at additional infrastructure from Tillamook.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, Commissioner Fowler.
Thanks. So I think that my idea is similar to Director Wynn's, but before I start, didn't OHBPA tell us that if they got 33,000 before July, the remainder of it could come in the next biennium?
Yes, they did. And I have actually factored that in on my little calculations. If we give
perfect.
them,
Okay.
so that actually will put us to the correct point where we need to be for next year. So we can give that other money in advance.
Perfect.
Okay.
So the way
Randy,
I show it, just so we know, the way I show it is that the 6,600 for the jockey building, the 12,188 for the sanding grading for Tillamook, and the remainder of HBPPA could all come out of the July 1st funds.
Okay. Okay,
So
I've
Randy,
got a
have your
lot of
hand,
math in my little brain.
Randy, have your hand up.
Yeah, a couple things real quick. To answer your other question, every dime that we're asking for is going into fair purses, nowhere else.
Okay. Great.
And as far as the splitting, what I was going off of is I would have the money up front to pay Union and Grants Pass, and the money after would be going for Crooked River and Tillamook. That's how I can split it and make everybody come out even and stuff. And so just to be really clear, the commission put down 4,000 for purses. Right now, the HBPA adds an extra 1,000 for thoroughbred purses. The quarter horse do what they do. And now this money would bring the purse structure up again to 6,000 for every thoroughbred race at all fairs.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Fowler? And then
Thanks.
Commissioner Stein?
So here was my idea. If we defer Union's jockey building until the next biennium and give that money to Tillamook for their temporary stalls, don't pay their portable stalls, their restroom shower request, and then take off the 12,000 that QHRA said for their purses 25 to 27, that could wait till the next biennium. I think that about makes us even budget wise. My math sucks, but that was my thinking of what could be deferred without taking anything away from any purses, and staying along the lines of our priorities are safety and purses. And while I appreciate that Tillamook has some major infrastructure that they want to put in, I'm all about contributing to that if we have the funds, but I have an easier time contributing to make sure that there are just simply enough stalls for the horses that are going to be there rather than building them additional infrastructure.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Stein.
Yeah, this question actually goes, well, sort of to Rod, but also to Connie. You factored in the repair of the jockey's room roof at Grants Pass. If that, I see you nodding yes.
Let me just go through what I show right now. Based on this, is what I'm seeing is for this year, 24,246 for the rock picker. For next year, and again, next year is just 6 weeks from now, 12,188 for sand and gravel for Tillamook. I'm showing 35, 36, 37, 22. You said you needed 32,000, correct? How much did you say, Rod? Now? 32 or 35?
For me?
For Randy, sorry.
Oh, I think it was 33. It was 66,000 to cover Union and Grants Pass.
I thought he said 33. I also thought there was 1,000 for the magnet thing. Funny.
Yeah, was the magnet in addition to the 12,000? I was a little confused by that.
I think it was, because the number I have for the sand grading magnet is the 13,188.
Correct.
Okay. Magnet. Okay. So the magnet, you don't need that until next year either, though, or do you need that this year? Well, we're okay either way, because what I show is out of the 57,000, we would give Rod 33,000, Randy 33,000 now, and 24,000 at the beginning of the next year. Okay, and then we would not grant. Okay, then we would do the medical staffing at 5,695. The track and water mitigation at 6,200. This is just what the numbers are. We don't have to agree on these. I'm just throwing out numbers. Hot Walker, 2,900. We would pass on the purses in Union because that would already be covered. The rail and track at Union would be 1,800. The jockey building, we would not give them that until the fall or until after July, and that would be 6,600. Otoba purses would be 9,000. Quarter horse, we would reimburse them the 27,200. We would give the quarter horse an additional 12,000 out of the 24 that they asked for. We give HRA 24,000 for the jockey building. We would do 3,500 to repair the temporary stalls at Tillamook and 1,000 for the magnet.
Okay, so what does that add up to?
That's exactly where we need to be.
Okay.
What about the Crooked Rivers barn lighting, 9,750, and purse enhancement of 7,500?
I took that out.
Yeah, and I think part of it, the purse enhancement, is that the associations are taking their purse money that we would give them and give them to the county, the fairs. Am I correct?
That was my thinking.
Right.
Yes, that was my understanding.
So my question to Rod has to do with the porch overhang, I guess is what you called it. Can you do without that and have like picnic tables and umbrellas to do for this year, or at least to get through the first part before spending whatever that is, 6,500, I think it was, for that awning type of thing?
My jockey attendant tells me that without that awning, it gets really, really hot inside of that jocks room. And we don't have air conditioning inside that jocks room. So she would really prefer us getting it up sooner than later.
Okay. And one other question, the adjacent building, is that like a YMCA, as I remember when I was there, where there's like a walkway that goes up?
That's a
Are
YMCA,
you
yeah.
guys able to use that?
No, all we use over there is 2 bathrooms that are handicap bathrooms that are attached to it. And that's the only thing we're able to use.
Okay, I have a correction.
Yes.
After adding
Commissioner-
these all up, we actually have 21,000 left.
Connie, I know you said 24,000 for mine. It was 24,400 was my request.
Okay, so it's minus 400. Minus 400. Enter. Okay, a little bit less.
So if we had extra money left, I think that the barn lighting request from the Crooked River Roundup is safety oriented.
I would agree. Commissioner Stein?
9750.
Yeah, I honestly, having not seen it, I'm just going from my experience at other racetracks and things. First of all, they race 4 days, and for us to spend this kind of money for something that most horsemen can plug in lights if they need to, we're only talking probably an hour's worth of light that they would need. And I just think that, you can buy LED shop lights that plug in, that use very little power, and lots of horsemen do that at every track just because the lighting at most tracks is terrible. And I just don't think it's a proper use of the funds.
And just one clarification, they do night racing there. They don't start till 7 p.m.
No, I understand that, but in their request, they say that they don't have, it gets dark at 9:30. And so again, you're talking maybe an hour and a half or so that they would need lights in the barn.
I would think that even though the races may be done by 10:30, the horsemen's jobs aren't done, and the early morning. And also I would imagine that while there may be 4 days of horse racing, can someone tell me how many days horses would actually be there? Do they show up right before that and leave right after?
I don't know. We've got 2 people with hands up. We've got Alice, and I thought I saw another hand up there. And Malia?
Doug Smith.
Oh, and Doug. Thank you. Okay, how about, so you asked a question. Has the question been answered?
I think maybe Mr. Smith would have the answer to that question.
Okay. So why don't we have Mr. Smith and then Alice and then Malia? It looks like Malia has her hand up too. So,
okay,
Doug,
so this is Doug Smith from Prineville, and I just want to clarify, we begin racing at 7:15. We run 8 races on Wednesday and Thursday with a anticipated last post about 11 o'clock. Our Friday and Saturday, we run 10 races, and our final post is somewhere in the neighborhood of midnight. Okay, and I say that we don't push midnight, but it's nothing to have the last post be at 11:45. we have huge crowds. If you haven't been to Prineville, one of the things that makes Prineville special is that we'll have as many as 6,000 patrons on the grounds and cars parked everywhere. The issue with the lighting is that what is out there now is incandescent, and it's security type lighting. So it's not done in preparing horses for racing, and you have 20 feet in between the barns. So you may have two people getting a horse ready in one barn and somebody coming back and taking care of a horse on the other side of that alleyway. And when you have the thing that scares me from a safety standpoint is when you have young horses that are in that situation, they see spooks that aren't really there, that are shadows. And that's why I really believe that from a safety standpoint, this is something that is very, very important and deserves the commission's attention.
Okay, thank you. Alice, you had your hand up also.
Yes, just to echo Doug, and I'll keep it short because I know we're getting tight on time. The safety issue is huge. I mean, literally, we're out there with headlamps at 2 o'clock in the morning, finishing cooling out horses. And headlamps aren't great around horses for the same reason. They spook and other things, and you don't always see everything with a headlamp on, and that's where we are. I mean, that's the reality. We've been doing it for years. Doesn't mean it's okay or works well, but it's the way we've had to do it. So I fully support getting some good lighting.
Okay,
for
thank you.
safety.
Malia, you had your hand up also. Did you know that?
Yeah, just really echoing Doug, I was going to say from the test barn standpoint, we often don't, well, I'm not in the test barn anymore.
I'm
but
sorry, I can't hear you.
years- Oh, hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Just echoing Doug from the test barn standpoint, the staff in there often don't even leave until 1, 2 a.m. So I can't imagine how late the horsemen themselves are leaving if the last horse isn't even leaving the test barn until 1 a.m.
Okay.
So just something
Thank
to
you.
consider.
Thank you. Commissioner Fowler? You're still on mute.
One, I would say, I think that another potential safety risk is if you've got people bringing their own lights and power and how that works. I think that could be really dangerous. But the other thing I wanted to ask is I didn't get an answer to how long the horsemen are there before the races begin and after the races. If you could answer that, please.
Yeah. Doug, can you answer that?
Okay. So the horses will start arriving on Saturday and will disperse on the following week. So Sunday, Monday, all the horses will be off the ground. So they're here for a full week.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so here we are. Director Nguyen, you've done a really good job at going through and saying, you know, of the different requests and so on and so forth. And so I've got two things. One, could you go over that again? And that would be, you know, XXX, and we come up with the right amount of money that we're not going to
Sure.
spend.
Let
And
me,
then second of all, would there be money in there for the lighting? That's the second
okay,
question.
so,
There's been a lot to talk about.
Karen, get your calculator out just to proof me. So I'm just gonna go over next year's first.
Because this
12
is pretty much the emotion when we get to the end.
Yeah, so
Commissioners.
taking the
Thanks.
safety money, which is just not gonna be all safety because we're moving around, 12,000 or 13,188 for Tillamook for safety. Karen, do you have that? Karen? Where are you, Karen? Karen, are you there?
She's nodding her head.
Yes,
She's nodding her-
I got
Okay.
it.
And then add to that 24,000 for purse money for HVPPA. What do you have?
That's not right.
188.
No, I'm just taking the part that we can give you next year. Chill out.
Well, but
How
we,
much is, hang on, just hang on, hang on. So how
37,188.
37188, so we still have a little more. So add in the jockey building for Union, which is 6,600. How much do we have?
43,788.
Okay, so we have 10,000 more. So add in there, 10,000 reimbursement for Quarter Horse Group. I'm going to explain this as we go. That comes out to
53,788.
okay, great. So here's what we have. We have for next biennium, July 1, we give 12,188 to Tillamook, plus another 1,000 for the magnet, plus $6,600 for the jockey building at Union, plus 10,000 reimbursement for the money from the quarter horse people, plus 24,000 for the extra purses for OHBPA. That covers the 52,000 for next year, slightly over. Okay.
Okay.
Karen?
Oh, yeah. Okay. And that we can start paying out those checks July 1.
Correct. Then,
Okay.
now Karen, write this down, add these up as we go. Then rock picker, 24,246.50. Let me put these in different colors. I want to just double check and have a. Then we have another $33,000 that we give OHBPA now. Then we have 5,695 for medical staff at Tillamook. Karen, what do you have so far?
That was 56.95.
That's what,
I didn't follow how you said that.
Yes.
It's 5,695.
Yes.
That total now is 62,941.50.
Okay, then add 6,200. That's for the hot walker. I mean, track water mitigation. And then add 2,900. What do you have? Just making sure these, I'm adding up in my head as we go.
$72,041.50.
Okay, and then we go to Union and we give them $1,800 for their rail repair. And then we give 9,000 to Otoba. And then we give the quarter horse instead of 23, 27, we do 17,200. 17,200. We give 17,200 to the quarter horse for the rest of the money that we owe them. Since part of it we're paying July 1. How much do you have now?
$100,041.50.
Okay, and then we add 24,000. Oh, I'm sorry, we add 12,000 for the purses that they want for the 25 for the current race meet for Otoba, Oregon Quarter Horse Association. Then we add $24,400 for the jockey building. Then we had $3,500 for the temp stalls. And where are you at?
$139,941.50.
And we add,
And Connie, how much
Nine-
do we have to spend?
we have 160.
What's the total?
We have
Okay,
160.
got it.
Then you add $9,000 for the barn lighting. You should have about 150,000, right?
148,941.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the purses. Instead of giving them 17, we're going to give them, so add 3,000, no, add $2,800. And what's that come out to?
151,741.
Okay, and that means that we would give 20,000 for purses for 2023, 2025 for the core horse now, and 8,000 the next year. But we still have how much money left over? We have $10,000 left? Oh, just skip that. Add in another 7,000. What was it? 27,200? 27,200. Yeah, we can give them the whole thing right now. Okay. So what we can do, I'm going to go over this one more time now that we've done the math with Karen, is July 1, we give 13,188 to Tillamook, 24,000 to OHBPA, 6,600 to Union. Then we can give tomorrow, Karen can start her busy little hand, so don't bother her. She can write a check for 24,246 to Crooked River, 33,000 to OHBPA for purses. We'll write one check for 14,795 for Tillamook. That would include hot walker, track mitigation, and medical staff.
Yeah.
18,000 or 1,800 for the rail repair at Union. 9,000 in purses for Otoba. 27,200 for Oregon Quarter Horse, plus another 12,000 for Oregon Quarter Horse purses. HRA 24,400 to fix their jockey area. 3,500 to fix the stalls in Tillamook. And 9,000 for barn lighting.
Okay.
That's it.
Since we've had all of these numbers and all of this kind of thing, and it's something that we're supposed to vote on, I would feel more comfortable if, I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from. It looks like most of the requests that came in either were fully or partially funded of all the requests that came in. And
The
so
only
we're covering
ones,
the,
yeah, let me talk about the ones we did not cover.
okay,
That might
because we
make
want
it
to do
easier.
that. Reason is, as commissioners, if we have to take a vote on this, to me, I don't know, Kelly can tell us whether technically we can have a provisional vote, because I would feel more comfortable if I had it on paper in front of me. That's just me.
Okay. So,
But
so what?
So what has not been funded? That was
So what's-
requested.
Right. So what was not funded was, instead of funding 30,000 for portable stalls, we only are funding 3,500. And
Yep.
instead of funding, I forgot how much the original request was. Cammy, you can help me. Restroom, showers. That was like, what was that? 15,000.
It was 15. It has 15 too. Or
Yeah,
15
we did not fund that. We did not fund the $9,000 of purses for Union, and we did not fund, and we did not fund the purses for Prineville, and we're only funding half the Quarter Horse purses, instead of 24,000, 12,000.
Got it. Okay. As I say, the purses are coming out of the organizations, but okay. Commissioners, questions, comfort level. Yes, Commissioner Stein.
Rod, I'm concerned about the not concerned necessarily about the bid, but about what the roofer may find and the cost of materials that are going up, such as the plywood and various other things that you may discover as they start ripping that diseased roof off, and how we can make sure that it gets done and it gets fully funded.
Because I understand, Mr. Lowe, that you guys were going to pay overage.
We'll take the
You can let
overage.
us know.
So I do have, if you look at my bid, I have 7,500
Mhm.
in for allowance for dry rot repair.
Right.
And that's just an allowance because we don't know what we're gonna get into. And HRA, if it runs over that, HRA will take care of the rest.
Because I was going to say, I said on something like this, especially when it comes to building, and it's something that I feel less comfortable with funding, just because of the safety and so on. That any overage on something like that, which you do have built in there, would be the responsibility of like, you guys. But it looks like that's what you've already kind of agreed to. That we'll pay this.
If you want,
yeah.
I was just gonna
Yes,
say, if you want, we can take a 10-minute break and I can put this all out on one piece of paper so you can all see it before you vote.
Commissioners, would you feel more comfortable with that, or are you comfortable with what's been going on?
I'm comfortable with
Oh,
where,
Connie's proposal, and I'm on board with it as Connie has proposed it. But I also totally want to make sure everybody's very comfortable that the math is right. We got this correct. Boy, we don't want to wake up tomorrow morning and find out we did something with this.
Because I also feel
And
comfortable.
we
with what's
have
been
the money.
presented.
This is not like all of a sudden we're going to wake up in a few days and realize that the funds we thought we were going to have are not there. This is all guaranteed money that we have.
This is extra money. The 160,000 is money that's could potentially get swept if we don't spend it.
Okay.
Got it.
And it's within our limitations. That is money that, because of the hard work of my staff, we have not spent.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I say, one thing, and then we'll get to Commissioner Fowler, is the thing about taking the 10 minutes and looking at this, we still have quite a bit on the agenda left still. And some of the things I think we can maybe put off till the August meeting. But I want the commissioners to feel comfortable with what has been presented and what we would be voting on. And so if you want to have the list, in front of you after we take a short break, then that's fine. If you feel comfortable with what Director Wynn has brought out, then we can vote. So it's up to you guys.
Another
you think?
option is I could turn my lead over to Micah to go over the rest of the new business while I put these numbers together.
Commissioners, what would you prefer?
Oh, and before
I'm fine with
sorry.
the,
Okay, and then Kelly.
I'm fine with
yeah. Yes, Commissioner Fowler.
Thank you. I'm fine with the proposal as Director Wynn has laid out. And I would also say, Chair Doherty, with regard to the jockey building, while that is infrastructure, I think that that also goes to taking care of our jockeys, which goes to safety. And I feel a lot more comfortable giving money to invest in something like that as an infrastructure.
Sounds good.
I'm
Commissioner
comfortable
Stein,
with.
ready to
I'm
speak.
I'm comfortable with the numbers Connie has done. I have all the things in front of me, and it was helpful on the things we're not doing. And as long as we have the money, and if we don't spend it, it gets swept away. Then I think personally, I think we're good.
Okay. Commissioner Quinn, you have some input, and then we can, then Kelly, if you want to step in.
I'm satisfied to go to a vote.
Okay. Kelly?
Oh, Chair Doherty. Oh, thank you. For the record, this is Kelly Rat with the Oregon Department of Justice. My only suggestion was I think for the record, it might be helpful to have them written down with the numbers. I think for the purposes of a motion, just to say, you know, and also because I think we have two biennia here that we're potentially approving, splitting them up. So that was my only suggestion for clarity of the record and for the participants. Because I think we are sort of approving, you know, this amount for this amount for this, and it might be easy for the person making the motion to have those in front of them, so that the numbers don't get muddled and that we sort of have a, you know, even if it's just like an Excel spreadsheet with the number and what it's
'Cause
for.
it's-
That's
it
my
sounds
only
like-
suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like we're in agreement with what Director Wynn had, and she's gone over it twice, so, I think. what
And
it
these
is
numbers
is-
are in front of us in
Yeah.
that we got before the meeting.
Okay, great. Yeah.
we did
And
have that.
and if I'm like 3/4 of the way through, if we want to just go ahead and start working on the rest of them, we can make a motion as soon as I get done with this.
Well, I mean, I feel comfortable of having somebody making a motion saying that we would approve the report as presented by, you know, Director Wynn.
I'll make that
As long as
motion.
they're written, you know, something, so. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Or do you want to wait?
Yes, I nominate Commissioner Fowler to make that motion.
I made the motion, yeah.
Okay, and so the motion is to accept the report that was given by Director Wynn. And of course, we will get it all in writing, and it is an amount that is just a couple of dollars below what the money that we have left. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so Commissioner, Ms. Berry, or Mr. Quinn, seconds, discussion. Okay, any discussion, commissioners? Any more? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Oh, you were saying, you are on aye, Commissioner Stein?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's in the bucket, but we will make sure, Connie, if you could get that out tonight to all of the commissioners, we would appreciate that. Okay, the next thing we have, and I just keep looking, I can like another meeting at 4 o'clock, but what we have is discussion and possible approval of rulemaking with ORA, blah, 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 that talks about parlays. And I know that I think Commissioner or Director Wynn was going to be talking about these, but
I'm going to let Micah do this since he is the one that found that we did not have a definition for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
This should be
Thank you, Chair Doherty, Michael Lloyd, Director of Mutuals. Yes, I just, in the course of working with one of the ADWs who offer parlay wagerings, I realized we did not have a definition of what a parlay is. This is just rectifying it. So wanted the permission to start the rulemaking process to add that definition.
Okay, do we have a motion to start the rulemaking process to define parlay?
I move we start the rulemaking process for the definition of parlay.
I'll
Okay,
second
Commissioner
that.
does that, and then Commissioner Fowler seconds that. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, next is, and there are two OARs. One is discussion and possible approval to adopt OR blah, 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 which deals with testing. And then the other, and then we'll go to the second one, which deals with tubes. And I understand, so who's going to handle that one? Micah?
I can handle this one.
Commissioner Stein? Yeah.
Actually, I think now the only thing I want to go on this, the first one, before we hit the tubes, let's talk about the TC. Oh, wait, where are we? We did the length of the licensing.
We're on total carbon dioxide, TCO2.
That's what I thought. Dr. Lombard, I think you had some concerns or some questions or some thoughts on this one. Do you have anything you want to share on this one?
Yeah, so I think we need to talk about this wording before we get too far down this, because all of our studies are where our levels are. I want to do this. I think this is something we need to do, but all our studies are where our thresholds are set at a level that are reflective of when LASIK, furosemide, LASIK is given, right? And we shorten our LASIK to 3 hours. So I'm a little bit concerned that if we go with this threshold level and we're testing in a different window, then our studies all say what we decide is outside of the appropriate window might not be accurate or admissible.
So,
Dr. Stein, help me out.
Yeah,
and I have some thoughts on that afterwards.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just on the handout, in terms of, for instance, the sample collection, talks about approximately 3 hours after furosemide. Well, they're already pretty much in the paddock by that point. So that would, if we're going to adopt as written, that doesn't really hold. Plus the 5 cc's of IV furosemide, I think we've allowed 6, is that?
Yes.
Which would be 300 milligrams rather than 250. So that affects things. In reality, in terms of the testing, I would actually believe that D, the post-race testing, is far more, without having to affect how much you give and the timing, that 3-hour timing. The 90 minutes after the race actually fits in much better. I know it says discouraged to ensure accurate results, but I believe that's when you're mixing pre-race and post-race, rather than if we have a standard that, whatever random tests or however it's done, that 90 minutes after the horse is in the receiving in the test barn, then it has its blood drawn and you move forward. I think that's the easiest way to deal with it if we want to, proceed this way as it's written here. But that, Dr. Lombard's absolutely correct in pointing out about the, the administration of LASIK and the timing and the amount. And then it gets back into down under C, under commentary on elevated levels, talking about the investigation of elevated levels. Most jurisdictions that I've been associated with do a quarantine, that a horse who's tested high, the next time they race, they have to be in a detention barn or a detention stall, and tested. And in some ways that becomes the penalty. I know in New York, that's how they do it. That they're in detention for 6 months for that period of time. And every time the horse races, they race out of detention at the expense of the owner or trainer or whoever is the financially responsible. So that almost acts as the deterrent if shenanigans are going on. So.
Okay. Does the language that is proposed does that cover your concerns, or does this need to go back?
I think it needs to, personally, I think it needs to go back.
Okay.
Agreed.
So we're not doing any testing this summer?
So what the lab recommended was that we still test without it in the language, and we don't have any penalties, but we know where we stand.
Okay.
And
I'm fine with
horsemen
that.
know that we are testing, but we cannot enforce a penalty if it's not in the rule. That was a lab's
Okay.
recommendation, and they've done that in other jurisdictions.
You're on mute.
Muted, honey.
Direct.
Yeah. I know that everybody's getting tired, so I'm not even going to go into that. Okay, that sounds good. So we're going to pass on that one.
Yep.
The next one
And
that we
the
want to
second
talk
one
about.
was the thing with the tubes.
Yeah, and Dr. Commissioner Stein has done some additional research and has a proposal, I believe.
Yes, I was looking up I haven't bought a tube in 40 years. But in any case, I went online and I went to one of the distributors, one of the manufacturers of stomach tubes, and they actually have a diagram describing at what point there's the swallow reflex, which is really just in front of where the esophagus is. So, and that is 16 inches. And I felt that, we were talking 12 inches, 18 inches, and we actually have, in a sense, data that says 16 inches. And personally, I feel comfortable when we can establish that a reputable company that manufactures stomach tubes has it indicated that at 16 inches, that's the length at which it starts to approach the esophagus. And theoretically at 18 inches, you could enter the esophagus, and therefore you're almost a stomach tube. Not quite, but I think just in terms of clarification, 16 inches is fine. I also looked up the Ohio regulation, and they just say nasogastric tube. Possession of a nasogastric tube. We've gone a little further to kind of define that, to give our investigators something they can hang their hat on. And I think since we have data that indicates that 16 inches, any longer than that, you're now approaching inside the esophagus.
And that's what the language that we have listed here says 16 inches.
We're going to change it to 16 if we can get a vote. We just need a vote to go with 16. We had originally proposed 12. We asked for additional public comment. We were considering 18, and I think we need a motion for 16 now.
Okay. Could we have a motion?
Make a motion to make the length 16, the maximum length 16 inches.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a moment in a second. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Okay, so it's 16 inches. And that's the amendment to it. Director Nguyen?
I would like to make a motion that we take item 16 and 17 and move them to the August commission meeting, and that we do the final 18, because I know Karen has done a lot of work on this and wants to determine if we can do this before races start. So if that's okay, Karen will, she's got a quick presentation for you on the helmet, and then we can make a vote, and then I can get you guys out of here.
Okay, that's fine. So we will move those two things to the August meeting. What about on our agenda? We also have the ORC strategy and information technology strategy plan.
Those are the two I'm referring to, moving them over.
Okay, what about the two OARs we just talked about?
We're done with those.
I think.
Yep.
Okay.
We're done.
Okay. And then
just so you can see, I'm going to email this out to the members of the committee that made that recommended these funds, and the commissioners, so you can see the breakdown of funds.
Okay. Okay, so I need clarification back on the OARs, because did we vote on 16-inch tubes?
Yes.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so we've got that. Thank you for getting that information out to us. So the strategy plan, our strategic updates and information technology strategy, we will move to the August meeting. And so the last thing on the agenda before public comment is the jockey helmet program. Karen.
Thank you, Chair Doherty and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Karen Parkman, and I serve as the Director of Administration for the agency. Today, I'm presenting on a new pilot program for helmet replacement and cost of implementing it. Our jockeys are at the greatest risk of head injury. Pony riders and outriders have been included in this proposal as well. In the simplest explanation, this is an assistance program. Our aim is to help these folks replace damaged or expiring helmets with assistance, or with this assistance. We believe it will help them to get an upgraded helmet with the most modern technology for racing participants. There are a
There's a
multitude.
presentation being displayed, Karen. We're not seeing it. I apologize for interrupting you. I think we're seeing your screen of Connie.
I'm seeing no
Oh.
screen. Yeah, it was in our packet.
Yeah, it's in your
Mm,
packet. That wasn't really, no, I just wanted to read this to them. And then the proposal itself is in the packet, but it's not a presentation piece. Does that make sense? I can put it up there.
I apologize. Go ahead.
That's okay. In
Some
the
of us
interest
are
of time,
visual.
I'm just going to go on with what I was reading, and
There we go.
oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so in the simplest explanation, this is an assistance program. Our aim is to help these folks replace damaged or expiring helmets. With this assistance, we believe it will help them to get an upgraded helmet with the most modern technology for racing participants. There are a multitude of helmets available on the market, not all rated for racing. What we learned in our research is that a racing rated helmet can be purchased starting at a starting price around $250. We propose that we reimburse up to this amount. We did not present this in the budget meeting as it's not an allocation request. And this will be subject to the funds being available, not to exceed $5,000 for the pilot program, because that's what this is. Our request is for the commission to approve the pilot program today, if you think it is warranted. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions based on the proposal that was in your packet.
I think you called on me, Chair Doherty, did you? Okay.
gonna
I
was
want to
talking.
say that I fully support this program. I think it's a great idea. When I was at the races in Grants Pass last summer, I watched a jockey fall and land on his head. And I actually asked the EMTs if they had looked at his helmet as they looked at him, or if anybody looked at his helmet to see if it had cracked, and nobody had. And I thought about what a cost that would be to jockeys. I mean, if every time they hit their head, they had to replace their helmet, that's cost prohibitive. And so they probably wouldn't do that. I myself have fallen off a horse and landed on my head. There's no way I would have used that helmet again. So I can't commend your work and efforts and express my approval enough.
Excellent. Other comments? Actually, I would like to echo that because I think it's a great idea. And so with that, do we have a motion to accept the jockey helmet program?
I will happily make that motion.
I'll
Okay,
happily
Commissioner
second it.
Fowler And Commissioner Stein happily seconds it. So should we have a happy vote? All those happily in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
happily.
Okay.
And
motion
I would like
passes.
to say, good job, Karen. When everybody's rushed to get out of here, you're thrown to hurry up. And you did a lot of work on this, and I'm really proud of you.
Oh,
I love
thank
it.
you.
I love it.
Thank you for approving that for us and for the jockeys, because that was really at the heart of it.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, I know. we're
And
done.
also, just real quick, I wanted to say that, the track does do inspections as well on all the jockey equipment. So we're trying to work together with everybody doing everything possible. So.
Okay. Next thing we have is public comment. Nelson's, Mr. Nelson. And then Rob.
Oh, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is more of a comment for you, or a question or a request, however you choose to take it. But I just had a call from our lobbyist that said House Bill 25, House Bill 3101 was in trouble in Ways and Means, And if you had any contact with the co-chair, Senator Lieber, Kate Lieber, that now would be a time to make a request that be on the priority list. I will contact Senator Durrott and Representative, whatever his name is. And
Yeah, I think that the lobbyists can deal with that. The lobbyists can deal with those.
What?
Okay, and which one was that? I thought that was a Greyhound bill.
No,
which has been.
No, that's the money that goes to the fair that replaces the money that you just spent.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Alice? Quickly.
I also had a request. Can I get a list of the money that you have put together, Connie? I know the commissioners.
I'm getting ready to send it out to all the people who made requests and the commissioners.
Okay,
It's rough,
thank you.
but it'll be something. So if there's any concerns, we can address it right away.
Okay. Thank you. Randy?
Yeah, just, I'm sure on behalf of a lot of us, just thanks to the commission. You guys put in a lot of work today. It was a fairly arduous process, and I appreciate all of you taking the time to do the work.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I think part of it was a long agenda, but there are a lot of, I think, we've been just, I guess, updating us and getting us more in the 21st century kind of thing. And I think Connie's done a good job of going through and doing that through the entire tenure that I've been here, which isn't very long. Okay, Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, I also want to thank the commission for this process and getting the monies allocated so that we can have safer races and bigger purses. So I appreciate that. My only other comment is, Karen, if you could send, I don't know what you have for options for helmets and requirements and what to check for so that my staff can help in that process as well as your staff. And I think all the fairs are going to need that, not just me. So any paperwork that we could have to look for, or how to order them or how to request them, that would be great.
All right.
Yeah. Good suggestion.
I will
Good
do that.
suggestion. Okay, Alice, do you quickly have something else?
Very briefly, thank you, Madam Chair. Alice Lombard, veterinarian. There's more that we can talk about later, but I just want to thank Director Wynn and Rod Lowe for doing the track work that they did, assessing the track. I also want to reiterate that I hope that doesn't get lost in the weeds as we move forward. And in past years and past tracks, we had a track committee that would meet regularly that included many constituents, stewards, trackmen, veterinarians, horsemen, to see where we are with the track and make adjustments as appropriate. And so I hope that moving forward, we can reinstitute that sort of collaboration for safety.
Thank you.
It really, really, really helped.
Any other comments? Micah, does the dog have a comment? I don't think
Just
so.
wolf.
Yeah, just woof. Okay, with that, the next thing, we have no contested cases. And so our next meeting is August 21st at 1:30 remotely. Thank you, Director Wynn, for doing all of this, considering that you really did have kind of major surgery. And I know that her ballet career is now over, so she can be able to spend more time with us and no longer do the pirouettes with her arms. So anyway, thank you, commissioners, very much for all of your input and your patience and your great questioning. I appreciate it very much. So with that, I adjourn the meeting and we'll see you all in August.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.